You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Final live edition of the Show Before the Show podcast in 2017 from MILB.com. We just recorded an open a second ago, and I left in 2017 until the end, so it just sounded like we were ending the podcast, so I wanted to make sure that we didn't mislead you. It's just the last one of this year, people. Calm down. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, that would be one heck of an announcement.
It's all fine.
Right
yeah, just drop it on people. Nope,
I feel like we would be a lot more somber.
Yeah, that's true. We wouldn't be quite as fired up, quite as bubbly, as they say. No, it's just the last one of the year. Calm down. Everything's fine. All you crazies. But yeah, it's here. I'm Tyler Maughan. Sam Dykstra's in New York City. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Tyler. Have you been able to see Star Wars yet?
I have not.
Star Wars podcast.
I have not. How was it? How was it?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. There might be a lot of people now who are throwing their phones or listening devices down on the ground because I know a lot of people did not like it.
Oh, I thought you were going to give spoilers.
No. Although the part with Rey, that was really good. No, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed it, and I want to talk to as many people as I can about it. So if people want to have conversations, my DMs are open. I've already had one particular discussion with a friend of mine who is a pilot who tries to say lots of things that happen in Star Wars couldn't happen in real life, which...
No way!
Yeah.
You mean Wookiees and things don't exist? What? Since when?
His last text to me was, before I let you go, and this isn't a spoiler, before I let you go, I just want you to think, how do bombs drop in space? And I was just like, you lost me at that point.
Well,
although I found out the answer. The Star Wars book actually has answers on this. They have magnets.
Wow.
So science. That's how.
Would magnetism even work like that?
What?
Would magnetism even work like that?
I mean, do any of us really know how magnets work? No.
It's all a mystery.
But it's science. That's all you need to know, Tyler. It's just science.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, man, we really did make it a Star Wars podcast for like 90 seconds here. It really was. No, I'm sure there are actually a ton of Star Wars podcasts you could probably just go find right now. But don't do it. Don't turn ours off because ours is really good. Promise.
I swear this will be a reprieve.
Yeah, exactly. You won't have to deal with listening to the nerds for a while.
Hey.
Just kidding, Sam. So hey, with that, welcome inside the latest edition of the Show Before the Show. Coming up, we got some good stuff on the show, we think, hopefully. No, it is our final live recorded episode of 2017, but we are going to hear from Brandon Gomes, who Sam caught up with at the winter meetings last week. So that'll be good.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about talking with Brandon Gomes.
Yeah, he took over for Gabe Kapler as the director of player development with the LA Dodgers.
Gabe Kapler, now the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Exactly.
Friend of Josh Jackson.
Yeah. Some of you might know Brandon Gomes. He was 5 years. He spent 5 years in the majors with the Rays. Actually was pitching in baseball as late as 2016. Got a job with the Dodgers in player development last year. Specifically in pitching, Gabe Kapler leaves, Brandon Gomes moves in. We get to talk a little bit about that, what it's like to take over for Gabe Kapler, who I think was perhaps the most unique director of player development that I knew, and what it's like to work with this particular crop of Dodgers prospects and what he has to do to get used to the job, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we'll be getting to that in our second segment today.
Yeah, going to be all kinds of fun. Before we dive into Three Strikes for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show, thanks for tuning in wherever you found us on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. Those are one and the same. But we used to say iTunes. I think it's officially known as Apple Podcasts, so there, whatever. Google Play, the Stitcher app, wherever else you found us. Thanks for tuning in, and we're at MILB.com/podcast if you want to go catch up on old episodes and all that good stuff. You can also get in touch with the show, podcast at MILB.com, and give us a rating and a review and a subscription if you would be so kind, and if it is 5 stars and 5 stars only. And with that, we'll get started on strike one. Some big news from today. We're recording this on Wednesday, December 20th, and that news is from one Sam Dykstra at MILB.com. Quote, "The Rays shipped away a big part of their past Wednesday, and the hope it'll lead to an even brighter future. Tampa dealt all-star third baseman Evan Longoria to the San Francisco Giants for number 57 overall prospect Christian Arroyo, left-handed pitching prospect Matt Crook, right-handed pitching prospect Steven Woods, and Major League outfielder Denard Span," the clubs confirmed Wednesday afternoon. The Rays are also sending cash considerations to balance the deal. Pretty big deal here. This gives Tampa Bay 7 top 100 prospects now in the end-of-year 2017 prospect rankings. And it also gives the Rays a pretty formidable duo on the left side of the infield with, presumably, you would think, Christian Arroyo moving to third base, where he got a lot of starts in the big leagues last year to play alongside Willy Adames, who has for a long time been the top prospect or one of the top prospects in that system. He would be at shortstop. But this is a pretty big deal. It almost feels like a bigger deal for Tampa Bay than it does for San Francisco. I think 5 years ago you would have thought, man, Evan Longoria gets traded. That's huge. This feels a lot more like the Rays building for the future than the Giants reloading for 2018.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of that is that the Rays are obviously cutting salary here.
Right.
Longoria has, I think, $81 million left through 2022. So 5 seasons left on that deal. Then there's another option for 2023. The Rays, as we always know, are notorious penny pinchers. But by getting Christian Arroyo back in this deal, I said this a couple weeks ago, I think, when we were previewing the winter meetings, like, this is the deal that typically would have happened at the winter meetings. Didn't happen then. We ended up having to wait a week for it. But, this Rays system already seems like it's going to graduate a bunch of guys in 2018 anyways. Brent Honeywell, is definitely going to be in Tampa Bay at some point. Willy Adames is definitely going to be there in the spring, the summer, if not earlier in the spring. Jake Bauers is right on that cusp. Jose De Leon needs to get healthy, but he already has major league experience. Brendan McKay is going to be a two-way player, but was arguably the best college baseball player in the NCAA last year. He could move quickly. You add in Christian Arroyo, who already has major league experience, like De Leon, already has torn through AAA. Wasn't pushed aggressively because they needed him there. He was doing really, really well in the PCL before getting called up last year. And this core just adds another key piece. You mentioned he could potentially move over to the left side. Tampa Bay has a big hole at third base now that they're going to need to fill. Evan Longoria, you could always count on him playing 150-plus games. They're going to have to fill those games somehow. I'm sure they're going to try to get Arroyo as many positions as they can, probably mixing him at shortstop. Maybe they do a situation with him and Adames like the Braves did a couple years ago with Dansby Swanson and Ozzie Albies, where they switch off until one really takes the position at short. Everything I read, everything I've seen, Adames is definitely a better defensive shortstop, and he could work well there. Arroyo's bat could also work really well at third base. He's got a plus hit tool. He's a career 300 hitter exactly in the minor leagues. I mentioned before his AAA numbers. He hit 396, 461, 604 in 25 games last year with Sacramento. That's a PCL. It's an offensive environment. It's kind of a small sample. He's not going to, have a OPS over 1,000 everywhere he goes. He doesn't have great power, but he fits the bill of just being a very solid hitter. Could easily be a 300, 310 hitter, even in the major leagues. And now the Rays have him under control for multiple years at, the major league minimum for a couple of years until arbitration. Plug him into that lineup. He's not going to be replacing Longoria's power necessarily, but he could reproduce his overall production. Longoria was a league average hitter last year. He was a really good defender. He won a Gold Glove, but he had a 100 OPS plus, which is exactly league average. Arroyo's ceiling is certainly higher than that. So, this is a move for the Rays. If you decide you're really not going to contend this year, get something for Longoria while you can. Maybe he doesn't age as well this year. The Giants are really going for it. they don't want last year to happen again. They really need to fill that spot at third base with somebody that they know for sure is going to be a solid piece. Longoria fits that bill. Arroyo could have a higher ceiling over the next few years. I'm not saying he's going to be better than Longoria over their careers, but over the next few years of team control. So this really works for all involved in ways that I think some trades that have also happened this offseason looked much more one-sided.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. It's going to be interesting to see. Christian Arroyo had such a step back in 2017, and not because of performance. I mean, he started tearing the cover off the ball in Sacramento, and then the injuries, the promotion to the big leagues, and all that kind of stuff. It'll be interesting to see if he has a bounce back year in 2018. And the Rays pulled in a pretty big haul for this. What is very interesting to me about it is that the Giants don't seem to believe that they are in need of any type of rebuild, but rather just retooling at the major league level, which is what they tried for 2017 and did not work out. Spectacularly did not work out. So I'll be very interested to see at the major league level how that happens to affect the next 3, 4, 5 years for the Giants, because that was already a thin system. Now it's an extremely thin system.
Yeah, for sure. Only having to give up Arroyo is pretty good, I guess. If you're going to get a 3-time All-Star, Tyler Beattie's still around, Chris Shaw is still around, Ramos is still around. So they have some core pieces, but the fact that the foundation of that system was not very good to begin with, losing any key piece is not, is certainly going to hurt them in the way we think about their farm system in 2018. And I bet they're probably not done. They're not going to pull off a similar trade maybe, but if they're continuing to retool, they're going to be trying to sign free agents. I know Jay Bruce's name is being thrown around. He might be signed by the time this podcast goes live, even the way rumors are going. Some other trades could be in the offing, spinning somebody like Beattie or Shaw off for something big. I would really hope they hold on to Ramos, because he's the guy who I think has the best case to be a top 100 prospect right now, and has the fewer question marks, even though he is so far away, that Beattie and Shaw have. But, the Giants, they want to be contenders year in and year out, and this is a move an attempted contender makes.
Strike two this week, Sam. The Rule 5 draft last Thursday at the baseball winter meetings in Orlando. And of the guys taken in that draft, 18 players headed to new organizations. Sam had a Toolshed column up last week as to how likely it is that these players are going to stick on their new rosters, which means they have to stay at the major league level in the 2018 season for the entirety of the 2018 season. And of these players that were taken, few of them are guarantees or even close to guarantees for being there. But what stands out to you most about these guys who traded uniforms in the Rule 5 draft?
Some of them were legit surprising. Some of them were very much not. The two guys who I think have the best chances of sticking for a full year are Nick Burdi, who's going from the Twins to the Pirates, and Birch Smith, who's going from the Rays to the Royals. Birch Smith, really showed up well this year in the AFL. He was hitting triple digits at times. He struck out 29 batters in 20 and a third innings. Some of you might know him as a former Padres prospect. He actually missed all of 2015 and 2016 due to Tommy John surgery. Rays signed him, brought him up kind of slowly this year, gave him some time in the AFL, decided to not protect him. They had a little bit of a roster crunch. Guys like Honeywell, Adames, Bowers, they all had to be added right about now. So that somebody like Smith kind of falls off. So the Royals come in and swoop, and we talked about this before on the podcast and elsewhere. This is going to be a real interesting season for the Royals, how they're going to try to rebound from potentially losing Eric Hosmer, Mike Moustakas, Lorenzo Cain, on and on and on. So they'll definitely have roster space, and getting a guy who can throw 100, they're going to give him as many chances as they can to kind of crack that roster. And he has the stuff to do it. I mean, this isn't just a major league situation. This is also his own talent. The other guy was Nick Burdi, who also is coming back from Tommy John, much more immediate. He got it around late May last year. So he won't be available for the start of the season, which actually kind of helps his case. The Pirates can kind of bring him back slowly. They're going to send him on rehab assignments. They're going to give him as much rehab as they can in the minor leagues. In order for him to stick, he can be, on the 60-day DL and then the 15-day DL, or the shorter DL, excuse me, as long as he needs to be. But in order to stick with the Pirates, he has to be on the active roster for 90 days. So that could go into 2019 if that 90 days is not, if they don't technically option him, they don't technically offer him back or try to send him to the minors. If he still doesn't accrue that 90 days this year, that goes into 2019 before he could potentially be sent back to the Twins. But because of the injury situation, again, because the Pirates are in a kind of precarious situation in which they're going to need all arms on deck, all the talent that they can potentially get. I think that's going to work out really well for them. They're going to get a nice long look at him. I think he might have been the best prospect in this Rule 5 draft before the injury. Now that throws in a lot of things. As much as we want to say it's easy to come back from Tommy John these days, it's not always. It's not an exact science by any means. It's certainly better than it used to be, but he'll have to answer a few questions when he gets back. But again, mix that all up in that cocktail. I think that works out really well for both the player and the team. And the one that I thought was, I think, the most interesting pick of the bunch was a guy we actually tried to get on the podcast a couple weeks ago, didn't end up working out. And now it's even more fascinating. So maybe I'll try to get him at another point. But Anthony Gose was signed by the Rangers on a minor league deal to be potentially a two-way player. That was the news that came out when he signed. He spent this past season at Class A Advanced Lakeland in the Tiger system, becoming a pitcher. The reports are that he's got good velocity coming off the left side. His slider gets good grades as well. Struggled a little bit, but as one would expect for a former outfielder making his first trip to the mound as a professional. So the Rangers signed him. They want to play him both ways. He's super fast, super athletic, not a great hitter. That's what's held him back in the past. But get him a couple innings in the outfield, see how that works. Let him catch some balls, let him be a pinch runner, all that kind of stuff. Would have been super interesting to see how that works out. Flash forward to the Astros, who were in that group of teams that I didn't think were going to make a Rule 5 pick. They're going to be contending. They want all the roster space they can get. Why waste it on a guy who's going to be an experiment? Why waste it on somebody who, you're going to lose if you send down, all that kind of stuff. But here the Astros come, they take Anthony Gose with a 15th pick, and they announce that he's going to be a left-handed pitcher. Everything they said afterwards, they like the velocity, they like the breaking stuff. They really see something here. It's kind of, on their end, a low investment here. They give the Rangers $100,000. If they don't like them, they get $50,000 back. It's just a $50,000 look. But the fact that it's the Astros, the defending World Series champions, taking a chance on a guy who has never pitched above Class A Advanced to begin with and had never really pitched in the minors before that anyway, is fascinating. But obviously, again, Astros World Series champs, they know what they're doing. I'm really interested to see just how long he lasts. I don't think he's even going to come close to breaking camp, but how many spring training outings do they give him? Or are they just going to look at him in bullpen sessions? I would say he probably doesn't make it to late March, but anything beyond that would be a great sign for him and what people believe he can be as a pitcher.
Go check out that story from Sam, the Toolshed column at MILB.com from last week. And final thing this week, Sam, it is our final live podcast of 2017. So what has this year in the minor leagues taught us about baseball and things otherwise?
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many things that go through the mind of like where we are and what the sport means. The thing I always come back to about this year, I think that I'm going to remember more than anything is just the belief that teenagers can do really, really well. The sport has gotten to the point where we thought like, oh, you're going to need to grow into things. They're going to be things you've seen in minor league baseball that you've never seen before, pitches you've never seen before. And we always kind of doubt young players that they're going to do well, even at the lower levels right away. There's going to be a comfort level. And then you got, Vlad Guerrero and Bo Bichette tearing things up in Lansing together. You got Fernando Tatis Jr. Doing basically everything for Fort Wayne and then getting the bump up to Double-A and doing especially well there. You got Forrest Whitley, who climbed 3 levels in the Astro system in his age 19 season. When I kind of look back at this year, I think that's what I'm going to take away is don't doubt some of these guys early. If they have the skills, they will show them off as quickly as they can. And I don't think teams are going to be afraid to push them either. Even with the starts Vlad and Bo had, I didn't expect Toronto to bump them up to Dunedin by the halfway mark. They did, and they continued to take off. So that it's just going to be a change based on 2017 of how I kind of view some of these stars going forward. Whether that's going to happen again in 2018, I don't know. I don't think there is somebody like a Vlad Guerrero Jr. ready to pop off again this year. Ronald Acuna obviously fits in there. I'm sorry, everybody knows my love of Ronald Acuna. I couldn't go past too far without mentioning him in his age 19 season. So, we've had this before. We had the year of the prospect a couple of years ago, thinking like, oh, well, teams are going to aggressively push prospects now because they've shown that they can handle the majors. And things have kind of regressed back to the mean. That obviously wasn't a theme that stuck on very well. So maybe this might just be something about this group of 18, 19, 20-year-olds that is truly special. We won't know until, the dust settles in maybe 5-10 years. But out of 2017, I'm just going to take away that this was a special group of young players. And now we have to learn more both about them and how young players are treated in the minors going forward.
Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway. I think the overarching message in 2017 to me is that building from within is still the way to make it work in the modern day era of Major League Baseball. Even when you look at the Los Angeles Dodgers, a team that made it to the World Series and had a tremendous amount of success, the biggest contributors on that team were still homegrown guys, Corey Seager and Cody Bellinger and the like. Even Yasiel Puig, you could make a case that he's a homegrown guy, even though he came over sort of as a professional when he got here, but still had his time in the system, came up that way. But that team didn't even win the World Series. They had big money acquisitions and a lot more of that kind of old school component to, and by old school, I mean like early 2000s component to making your way to the World Series. But the Houston Astros, a team that 4, 5, 6 years ago was a laughingstock because of what they were trying to put in place, it all came to fruition. It all came together the exact way the Astros had planned, with their homegrown guys carrying the load. Yes, they acquired Justin Verlander, but the vast majority of what contributed to the Astros getting over the hump is what they've been trying to build over the last several years in that system. So to me, that is the thing that stands out most, is what we've been watching in these organizations over the last decade plus for, the mid to smaller market teams making it to the major leagues or making it to the World Series at the major league level with guys once they graduate them to the major leagues from their player development systems. That's still what is working with the best rate of return, it seems like these days.
Yeah, and even when you mentioned the fact that they got Verlander, they still had to trade homegrown talent to do that. Right. I mean, they turned Daz Cameron, who, the shine had certainly come off him in the last couple of years, but still they turned him, Franklin Perez, and another player into Justin Verlander, who's a big, you have to have a good system in order to trade for somebody of Justin Verlander's status, I guess, pedigree, whatever you want to call it. And that's just another point to the system of this is what happens when you make a good, deep system. You can either promote players or you turn them into other superstars. Yeah.
It's a fun era to watch across the major leagues and the minor leagues, and we learned a lot in 2017. Those are some of the things that stand out to both me and Sam. Coming up, Sam got a chance to catch up with Brandon Gomes of the Baseball Winter Meetings in 2017 last week in Orlando and talk about his new role with the Los Angeles Dodgers and more. That's next on this week's edition of The Show Before the Show.
But first off, new job for you, new role. What are you looking forward to about that, and how did that conversation kind of go once Gabe Kapler left to get you where you are now?
Once Gabe left, it was kind of, I was asked if I would be interested in interviewing for the position. I said yes, I definitely have interest in expanding my role, and that's kind of like from that point on, we just hit the ground running with the interview process. Just looking forward to kind of getting outside of just the pitching realm and really starting to dig in with our hitting department and learn the hitters and get more familiar with the hitters. I've seen a lot of them,
right?
All of them play, just like really digging in like I was on the pitching side. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be fun and valuable to like continue to understand like how those guys work and some of the different dynamics that we can help them develop to impact the big leagues.
Mm-hmm. And just so I get what your title was officially before, it was like director pitcher performance?
I was pitching coordinator.
Performance.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And that all obviously involves a lot of analytics and that kind of stuff. So how do you plan on translating that from the pitchers to the hitters?
Well, I mean, I think it's a similar concept when we're talking about like on the pitching side of things, we're talking about controlling the zone, pounding the zone. On the hitter side of things, continuing to keep that a focus of like we have to understand like where we do damage, how to impact the baseball in the strike zone, trying to get guys to chase less, and then leaning on our hitting department and our coaches to obviously teach through mechanical cues and different approach type things that'll help the guys fine-tune their skills.
Mm-hmm. And what are you looking forward to most about learning about the job, or learning about covering a system this big, going from just one role to kind of something more general?
I mean, I just think every day is a learning opportunity, and just the ability to be able to grow in so many different areas, like in the hitting side, getting more introduction to the front office side of things, the different business sides that come along with the farm director role. So just kind of having the opportunity to constantly grow and learn different areas of the game is just like really exciting on my part of things instead of just the pitching side.
Mm-hmm. And I know you talked about this a little bit, but in terms of transitioning from a player to a front office role, what is that like in your head when you are a player, and what is that conversation like in terms of, am I ready to move into this realm, and what do I think I can carry from, X to Y?
I think one of the biggest things looking back after this year is like being that close to the game is certainly helpful to be able to talk with the players on what they're going through. Mm-hmm. You have a good idea of like what's going on day to day, but then I think it's also helpful to just be able to connect with them and hey, like these are the things that we believe can help you. Mm-hmm. Getting some of the information to them instead of just having it and not being able to relay it kind of gets our players into a little more of a buy-in mode and wanting to seek some of the information that may allow them to take the next step.
Mm-hmm. Does that make the transition any easier for you, still being in the game this quickly? I know retiring is like one of the most difficult things anybody can do.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, I when I was done playing, I got released midway through the season in 2016.
Right.
Like there was a couple-week period where I was trying to get a job, another AAA job, mm-hmm. and when that didn't come about, like I was actually okay with it. Like, I had, I know I had done everything in my career to max out my abilities, and it was time to move on. I didn't believe I was a major league caliber player anymore, mm-hmm. so it made it a lot easier to transition and start using some of the lessons that I learned while I was playing and use them on the player development side and hopefully relay those down to the younger generation.
Mm-hmm. And obviously you came up with the Rays, you were a major leaguer with the Rays. How much of that transitions over to what the Dodgers are doing? Obviously Freeman at the top, same guy at the top, but what do you see when you were coming up as a player versus what the Dodgers are implementing now?
So I was drafted by the Padres.
Right.
I came up with the Padres and then traded to the Rays.
Right.
And you're seeing more and more of, I think it's just the information being transferred from front office down to the players, giving them access and teaching them about what is actually going on. I feel like in the past, it was probably more of an evaluation type component, where now we're using it as an evaluation and a way to better the player and keep them informed on like what we're looking for, what is valued at the major league level. Where at times in the past, when this is like early lower levels, that there was there's a disconnect behind what was being valued and what was what the players knew.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the strength of the farm system right now, obviously the Major League Club, being one game away from World Series, but the farm system's equally as strong as it's been in years. How does this kind of compare to some of the systems you've been in or systems you've seen from afar?
I mean, it's pretty impressive. Our depth is something that is incredibly strong. I think a lot of our pitchers would be top prospects in a lot of other organizations that may not be quite in our top 20, say. So I think we're very fortunate in that way. We have incredible scouting, incredible coaches, and using the analytics team and the R&D team to kind of build these guys and let them grow through the system. It's just like the amount of players. We're very spoiled. We're able to make trades at the deadline and still keep a very strong farm system. So it's. I'm in a very fortunate position, and all of us are in PD to get to work with these players on a daily basis.
And just to hit on a couple of them, Alvarez had a kind of rough year in terms of control, but stuff is as electric as you're going to find. What does he need to do to kind of iron that out and kind of find the zone with more regularity?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Yadi, obviously the arm is electric. It's just, I think we need to always remember that he's still very young. I mean, he'd be a college junior who throws 100. We're talking about a guy that's probably 1-1 in the draft. So being patient with him, getting his tempo and his delivery going, just kind of letting him mature into his body. He's still not fully grown yet. So there could be some growing pain issues there where he's just learning how to move more efficiently. Mm-hmm. I think just keep supporting Yadi with those initiatives. He's going to be great. Like we saw it last year, mid to upper 90s, 90-mile-an-hour slider. So keep working with the changeup now to add another pitch along with this curveball. He's really has a chance to be like top end impact pitcher.
Mm-hmm. And what was the biggest growth you did see out of him last year?
Once he got to AA, you could just see him adjust as the year went on, and you could see him. He got into breaking down hitters and really starting to understand where the holes were in the hitters. Mm-hmm. So now it's just a point of he got that component. It's just like going out there and matching up how to attack guys with that. So it was fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. And with Walker Buehler, obviously a little bit more advanced with stuff, just as electric. Limited innings just because of the injury coming off Tommy John. Have you guys talked about a plan for him this year and how that's going to kind of work out for him?
Yeah, I mean a lot of that's going to be dictated by our big league need, but I think we all see Walker as a front end starter as well with 4+ pitches, special kind of competitor, incredible work ethic. So it's putting the final touches and fine-tuning his game to keep understanding the advanced approaches that he needs to take when he's in the big leagues.
And if he were to go back to OKC as a starter, what kind of inning would the inning limit be off? Would he be able to go into the 5th and 6th more often?
Yes, I mean that's the idea. Now he's far enough out of his Tommy John that we'll be very mindful of his workload always. But once we feel like he's fully built up, like he's going to go out there. We need him and want him to learn how to pitch into the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, like he'll do in the big leagues in high leverage situations.
And a guy I'm sure you haven't worked directly with enough yet, but just in terms of this was his first year, was Jaron Kendall. Mm-hmm. Obviously athletic as anybody's you're going to find, but the strikeouts are an issue. What is the kind of goal with him going into his first full year?
When we saw him, he kind of got his feet wet in Ogden and then with Great Lakes a little bit last year, and his strides that he took instructionally, like watching his games, he was very often the most dynamic player on the field. Tools like you wouldn't believe, and you really watched him starting to impact the baseball, making quality decisions. Strikeouts went way down. We're really excited about what he's going to bring to the table next year.
Mm-hmm. And what allowed those strikeouts to go down?
Just a few mechanical cues, and Jaron just getting used to just kind of getting used to pro ball and the routine. There's always an adjustment period there from college to pro ball, so kind of getting in to his rhythm and finding his swing a little bit, and the communication with our hitting coaches really helped him, and we're excited. He was fun to watch.
Yeah, I bet. And just to leave you on this one, what advice did Gabe give you for this role before he left? I know you said he talked to you about applying and all that kind of stuff, but what did he say about this particular system and this particular role with you fulfilling it going forward?
Yeah, nothing like in particular, just Gabe, we've spoken and said, use me as a resource as needed, and, just keep focusing on like the development of the people. Like, you can impact a lot of lives in this role, and it's really a special opportunity for us, and it shouldn't be taken lightly.
And actually, this one just popped in my head. In terms of who you got to work with last year and you could see strides, and who are you most excited, at least pitching-wise, to see make a jump next year?
Yeah, well, Yachty would be one of them.
Right.
Just what he's capable of doing. As soon as he kind of grows into his body and everything clicks, it's going to be next-level type stuff. Dennis Santana was incredible. Watching him grow from instructional league in 16 to how he threw last year. Caleb Ferguson was excellent. Dustin May, who started in Great Lakes and finished incredibly well in Rancho. We saw the velo tick up, power sinker, big time slider. There's some guys in there that really have opportunity to be special.
Well, both Sam and Ben back from the warm confines of the 2017 baseball winter meetings in Orlando, Florida. Benjamin Hill joins the show now. How was it, Ben?
It was good. Warm confines is an interesting choice of words.
Yeah, I guess anywhere could be warm confines if you have heat.
Yeah, yeah.
True.
I mean,
Okay,
we were
the
within the warm
outdoor setting. Was it that warm there? I don't know. I didn't check the weather.
No, it wasn't even that warm either.
Okay. Never mind.
Until the day we left, when it was like 72 degrees.
Yeah.
That's always nice.
Yeah. Do you want to do your intro again?
Okay. 3, 2, 1. No. We'll leave it in. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Tyler.
So
Hey,
last we talked to you, you were getting set the day after we recorded for the Winter Meetings trade show. You were going to do a Facebook Live from there with Twitterless Danny Wild. How did it go? What were some of the highlights of the trade show this year?
It was good. The trade show is an integral part of the Winter Meetings experience, as anyone who's attended the Winter Meetings knows. And, I've been attending the Winter Meetings for quite some time. This is my 11th Winter Meetings, 9th in a official full-time capacity. And I got to admit that the trade show sort of tortures me a little bit each year because, you want to acknowledge it. You want to cover it in some way, but like how to do that in a new way, And then we hit on this Facebook Live idea, which I think was a lot of fun. You can check out a post on my blog, which contains a YouTube version of the Facebook Live video. And it's just a stroll through the trade show. And you get a sense of how big it is. And two, just what the variety of baseball products are on offer. So if you watch that video, you can check everything from dugout mugs, which are mugs made from like the hollowed out ends of baseball bats. You can see Bush's baked beans and Uncle Ray's potato chips, which are sponsors of minor league baseball, who had booths there and were giving free food, which everyone loves. You can see some championship rings for various price levels. You can just see a whole lot of things, including Gary Perrone, with the Brooklyn Cyclones, an executive with the Brooklyn Cyclones, doing an on-the-spot, peer-pressured version of Frank Sinatra's "My Way." You also see the New Era store or the New Era booth, all the caps they had on display. You'll get a rundown of theme jerseys and new cooling towels offered by OT Sports. They do a lot of theme jerseys, but now they have team logo cooling towels, which I got to wear as a do-rag. And on and on and on and on it went. So please check that out on Ben's Biz blog, bensbiz.mlblogs.com, Twitter @bensbiz. I am Benjamin Hill.
We're not done.
Thank you.
So when you were walking around, like the do-rags you mentioned were kind of new. And like there was the Bush's dog, Duke.
Yeah, Duke was only there for the opening night of the trade show. Okay. He didn't stick around for all 3 days. Duke was like a gigantic celebrity. I mean, I don't want to say he's just a dog. I don't want to demean him or dogs in general, but the way people were going nuts, I was kind of like, guys, you realize it's like just a dog, right? He's not like an alien dog. His fur's not made of gold. It's
But
just
he's
a
the
dog.
from the TV.
Yeah, he's great. He's a celebrity dog. He's super
Very well behaved.
super well behaved, very cute, also a little regal in his bearing. I'm not knocking Duke whatsoever, but the extent to which people love that dog amazes me, because I would only love a dog that much if it was, as I mentioned before, an alien and offering a half dog, half alien hybrid that was offering something completely new to my life experiences.
Well, I only bring him up because I don't think he's been there before. Was there anything new you saw this year in your walking around, either in the Facebook Live or just otherwise on your other trips down there?
I mean, I'm sure there were first-time vendors. Some of the stuff I mentioned previously were things I hadn't seen before, even like, dugout mugs, products like that. But big picture, I did not see anything new that had me walk away saying like, oh, we're going to see that at stadiums this year. Some years that happens, some years it doesn't. An example I really remember from the Winter Meetings trade show maybe 5 or 6 years ago, as simple a thing as it is, but the racing ponies, the inflatable racing ponies that became between inning staples. I remember seeing them at the trade show one year, and they were getting a lot of interest from teams, and thinking to myself, we're going to see a lot of these between inning bouncy pony races coming up. And lo and behold, we did. And if you're a minor league baseball fan, you've probably seen those. Usually it's adults on them straddling these bouncy ponies and making fools of themselves as they race between innings. These are the kind of things, and it's fun. That's the funny thing about the trade show, is you go to a minor league game of any, or a professional game of any kind, baseball game, and you don't really look around and think about all the different unique goods and services that are needed to make that operation happen. But when you're in the trade show and you look around, it's just kind of like, huh. Like, of course, you do have to get that giant inflatable jersey from somewhere. You do have to get the bounce house stuff in general from somewhere. You do have to maybe talk to architects who are working on renovations, and they're trying to sell you what they could do for your ballpark. Theme jerseys and bobbleheads, and ordering promotions for the next year. I mean, there's who knows how much money being spent at that trade show throughout the entire industry for things that are going to be implemented for the 2018 season.
Well, let's move on, Ben, to another post on the blog, which is a guest post from a Washington, D.C. area high school student who has previously written guest posts for Ben's Biz. And it's kind of about the identities of certain minor league baseball teams, parent club versus unique identities. And it includes the term Goldilocks zone, which refers to, quote, a perfect middle ground where it shows its association with its parent club while retaining the spirit of the town from which it hails. Kind of a cool post.
Yeah, Jay Canetti, shout out to Jay, who, along with his mom and dad, just about half an hour before we are taping this here on Wednesday, him and his family, he's from the D.C. area, but they are on vacation in New York City. And Jay and his mom and dad actually came up to our offices here in the Chelsea market, and Jay got to hit publish on the post and make it go live for all the world to see. So Jay's, he just turned 16 years old. He's written for the blog before, as I said. And this time around, he's strongly advocating for teams to have unique identities within the aforementioned Goldilocks zone, meaning, elements of the parent club, but something unique that can tie into the minor league team itself. I know team names and logos are one of the most, well-read and highly debated topics within my sphere. And, Jay has opinions. Check out his post. Get in touch with him. Or leave a comment or whatever you want to do to keep the discussion going. And shout out to Jay for being an ambitious, high school age writer who got in touch with me. And now he's a semi-regular contributor to the blog. And I try to cultivate that sort of spirit with the blog, accept guest posts whenever I can. I try to be accessible with that. So get in touch. I reply to almost everybody except Tyler.
Well, what are your thoughts on the Goldilocks zone?
I think it's a good way to put it. I'd never heard of the phrase Goldilocks zone before, but I think that is a good way to say, the perfect middle ground. Showing association with the parent club while retaining the spirit of the town from which it hails, as Tyler said, and this is which Jay wrote. So check that out and get in on the debate, or if not a debate, a discussion. And again, shout out to Jay Kennedy.
We talked last week about a story that would be upcoming, which was spawned by a Twitter thread in which Ben solicited responses from minor league teams as to how often they are mistaken for a different organization or a different industry or a different company or something like that. And you got that story coming up soon, correct?
That's right. We talked about this a few weeks ago. I got some good legwork done with it, but then the winter meetings hit and, had to be delayed. But on Thursday, the day this podcast drops, also that day, an MILB.com story on mistaken identities throughout the minor leagues, as well as a huge blog post making sense of the Twitter thread that started it all. So in the story itself, I have quotes from people who work for the Asheville Taurus, the Harrisburg Senators, and the West Virginia Power about how their team names result in a lot of consumer confusion, and these baseball entities often getting contacted by people who do not realize they're dealing with a baseball team. So it's a fun story. It'll be my last MILB.com feature of the year, and I think a fun, just kind of sprawling, goofy thing to close out 2017.
That is going to be hilarious. The Twitter thread was fantastic, and I'm excited for the story, which you can read right now at MILB.com. Benjamin Hill is on Twitter. He is at Ben's Biz there, and the blog is bensbiz.mlblogs.com. You can check out the stuff from the winter meetings and the guest post and a whole lot more there. And, like Ben said, catch the mistaken identity story on the site right now. Thanks, Ben.
Hey, thank you. And I'll have one more blog post before the year is over, just recapping a lot of winter meetings, odds and ends. So stay tuned for that. And outside of that, I guess this is my final, the final podcast of 2017.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. So what would your takeaway be from the year? That's something Tyler and I talked about in Three Strikes, but
I'm still single.
Yeah, that would be a takeaway. Yes.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's a takeaway of sorts. Nothing baseball related, nothing industry related.
Oh, you meant in my professional life.
No, it doesn't have to be.
I did ask it open-endedly.
Yeah,
so
that
reflects more on me as an interviewer.
That's my takeaway. Yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Just about finished with the final live edition of the show before the show for 2017. We may have a best of edition for next week prior to the new year, which would be all kinds of fun. But, obviously the holidays are always kind of crazy, so depends on timing and all that stuff. But what do you got going on for the holidays?
I will be going back home to Massachusetts and then going to Connecticut for Christmas. It'll be my nephew Liam's first Christmas. So I'm very excited about that.
Very cool.
Santa is getting him his last name is Murray, and Santa found him a Murray tractor,
nice.
which is like infant size, so that he can drive it around the house and stuff
when
he is able. He's only 5 months old. So
he's not a driving age as of yet.
Yeah, not yet. So very excited for that. I also got him it was like a onesie that was Jordan brand and like a hat that's Jordan brand.
Okay.
And then booties that are Jordan brand. So it's like the ultimate uncle move that I'm getting him his first pair of Jordans.
There you go.
I'm very excited for that. That isn't going to mean anything to him, but it'll mean more to me. So
one day he'll look back and he'll be very excited.
Yes. When he's signing, his own Jordan contract for 10 years and $1 billion at that point.
Yeah.
He'll know where to kick back some of that money.
Yeah, exactly. Then you can get in on that. You can take a bite of that apple or something like that.
Right. What do you got going on?
I'm actually going to be out there. I am headed to New York on Saturday, and it is also my nephew's first Christmas and my niece's fourth Christmas, because she is 3, so she had one when she was 0. That makes sense.
Yes.
So I'm going to be out there for just a few days, and I get to hang out with them. It's always fun. It's way more fun seeing the holidays through the way kids experience it, rather than just being like, "Oh, I'm in my early 30s and this is fine," But like, it's cool getting a chance to be around kids for it, especially kids that like think you're awesome for getting them presents. So that's pretty cool.
I know. Yeah, your niece is like right in prime age.
Yeah, I know. I'm very excited about that. It should be good. It should be good, man. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to share what we got.
Yeah.
When we come back.
Absolutely.
But as always, I feel like this was a good 2017 for us. Really happy with like all the people that have come on board this year. We started getting like actually data on the amount of people who are listening, and we were kind of flabbergasted by how many of you there are, and the amount of people who have reached out and said they enjoy listening to us each week. Can't stress it enough, especially this time of the year when we are always reflecting, but how awesome it is to have you guys listening to us and sending in questions and sending us your thoughts on certain things and all that kind of stuff. It means a lot to us that we know you're out there, and just letting you guys know, as we said around Thanksgiving, we're grateful for you guys and grateful that you're still here with us in the off season. And as we get ready for 2018 and the season that is to come, a few short months after that. So.
I second it. I second all of that, what Sam said. For all of these episodes in 2017, we appreciate you tuning in and all your engagement. And we will talk to you in a couple of weeks with a brand new year and a new season of baseball just a couple months away. He's Sam Baxter. I'm Tyler Mom. We'll talk to you then.